I need to be upfront with you about something, and I need you to hear it completely unfiltered, stripped of anyone else's voice, the noise of your notifications, the distraction of the TV in the background, and all the thousands of little diversions carefully put in your path to keep you away from this exact moment. Because what I am about to tell you cannot land correctly if you are only half listening, if you are scrolling, or if you are doing that thing where your physical eyes are present, while your brilliant mind is already 3 tasks ahead, calculating what you need to do tomorrow. Yes, you are already thinking about that to-do list and that conversation from yesterday that still has not settled in your chest. This demands your complete presence. It is the kind of presence you have not given to anything in a long time. Perhaps longer than you would care to admit. I know that may sound dramatic, but the reality is that you have been avoiding being present for quite a while now. You fill every quiet space with noise, activity, the endless scroll, and anything actual that prevents you from sitting alone with what is truly happening inside yourself. You have felt it, haven't you? That odd sensation of existing in 2 separate realities at the exact same time. There is the reality everyone else sees, where you show up, perform the necessary tasks, say the right words, and seem to handle everything with grace and competence. Then there is the other reality. It is the one hidden beneath the surface, where something feels fundamentally wrong. It feels like wearing clothes that no longer fit properly. It feels like walking through your own life like a stranger. A stranger who knows all the daily routines, but does not actually belong there. You have felt as though you are holding your breath. You are waiting for someone or something you cannot even name. You watch everyone else move through their days while you feel increasingly disconnected, more and more invisible, and like you are merely watching a movie of your own life instead of living it. And here is what has been happening that you might have missed, or perhaps you did notice but refused to fully acknowledge. The people closest to you have been reacting to something in you that they cannot quite identify. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly now feel strained, as though an invisible wall has appeared between you. You catch people looking at you differently, with a sense of uncertainty, as if they are trying to figure out who you have become or what has changed. Perhaps you have felt like everyone is pulling away, creating an unexplainable or unbridgeable distance that leaves you standing in the middle of your own life, feeling abandoned even when surrounded by others. And the worst part, yes, the worst part, is that you have begun believing the explanation offered during your quietest moments. That explanation whispers that you are being excluded because something is fundamentally wrong with you. It tells you that people are pulling away because they see a disqualifying flaw in you. It claims that your isolation is proof of your own inadequacy. Yet what if that explanation is completely backward? What if the distance you feel is not rejection, but preparation? Just think about that. What if the silence surrounding you is not emptiness, but a sanctuary? What if the very isolation that causes you so much pain is actually the most loving thing that could happen to you right now? This is not because you deserve to be alone, but because certain truths can only be communicated when the room is emptied of every other voice. Think about the times you received the most important messages of your life. Were they delivered in a crowded room filled with people talking over one another? Were they delivered while you were distracted, scrolling, and only half present? Surely not. The life-changing messages came when there was space, quiet, and the actual ability to hear what was being spoken without the interference of 1,000 competing distractions. And that is precisely what has been happening to you, whether you realized it or not. You have entered a season of stripping away. It is a season where things that once felt essential are falling off. People who used to be constants are drifting away. Activities that used to fill your days have lost all meaning, and you have interpreted this as loss, failure, and proof that something is broken inside or around you. But what if this is not a loss at all? What if this is merely the removal of everything blocking you from receiving what is genuinely yours? You cannot receive anything new when your hands are already full. You cannot hear a new direction when your ears are packed with the expectations of everyone else. You cannot step into your true self while trying desperately to maintain who you used to be. Now we need to go deeper into the uncomfortable places. There is a reason why you have always been so available to everyone else, so responsive, reliable, and present for every crisis, request, and need brought to you. And that reason is not as noble as you might like to think. Part of you has derived its identity, worth, and validation from being the person everyone trusts and turns to when things fall apart. You take pride in being the shoulder to cry on, the solution provider, the one who always knows what to say and do, and the indispensable figure. There is a secret satisfaction in playing that role. Sadly, that satisfaction has kept you trapped, because if you are the solution for everyone else, you never have to confront your own questions. If you are perpetually solving other people's problems, you never have to face your own. If your self-worth is tied entirely to your utility to others, you never have to discover your worth, independent of what you can do for them. And here is the hardest truth of all, operating beneath your conscious awareness for longer than you realize. A part of you has actually been afraid of your own power. This is not the power to control or dominate, but the power that comes from stepping fully into who you truly are, into what you are designed to carry, and into the specific, unrepeatable assignment that belongs to you alone. Because that kind of power carries heavy responsibility. That kind of power means standing out, being visible, and being seen without any place to hide. That kind of power means you can no longer blame your circumstances, relationships, lack of time, or obligations to others for why you have not moved forward. That kind of power means you are finally accountable for the gift placed inside you. And that accountability is terrifying. I know it is terrifying. It is much easier to stay small, helpful, needed, and hidden behind the needs of everyone else. It is easier to let other people's emergencies serve as your perpetual excuse for standing still. It is easier to let their demands dictate your days, so you never have to face what you might actually be called to do. Yet the season you are in, this season of strange silence, distance, and solitude, is a way of dismantling every excuse you have ever hidden behind. It clears the room of every voice that is not his, every demand that is not yours, and every burden never meant for your shoulders. He is doing this not to leave you isolated, but because he has something to tell you that demands your undivided attention. There is a conversation that must happen between you and him, one that cannot take place while you are distracted by 100 competing voices. There is an assignment meant for you that cannot be received while you carry the weight of everyone else's duties. There's a new version of yourself waiting to be born that cannot emerge while you desperately try to preserve a version that was never meant to be permanent. This brings us directly to the theme you have felt most accurately, the source of your deepest confusion and pain. The distant relationships, the people pulling away, and the feeling that you are a stranger in your own life are not happening because you are losing people. They are happening because the spiritual atmosphere around you is shifting, and those not meant for your future are simply reacting to that shift. They are not consciously rejecting you. Instead, they are responding to a frequency they cannot identify, a vibration they do not understand, and a version of you that no longer fits their established expectations. They pull away, not because something is wrong with you, but because something is so right about your transformation that it makes them uncomfortable. Consider this honestly. How many of your relationships were built entirely around your endless cycle of giving? How many of your connections depended on your willingness to neglect your own needs in favor of everyone else's? How many people populate your life because of what you do for them rather than who you actually are? And what happens to those relationships when you stop playing that role? What happens when you finally pursue your own assignment instead of carrying everyone else's? These are genuinely difficult questions to ponder. What happens when you start saying no instead of yes? What happens when you prioritize your own path rather than reacting to every external emergency? What happens when you are no longer quite so useful? Here is the question you have desperately avoided. What if the people who leave when you stop being useful were never truly there for you to begin with? What if the relationships unable to survive your transformation were never real relationships at all, but mere transactions? What if the distance you feel is simply the natural response of connections built upon a faulty foundation? These are relationships designed for the dosing version of you. They are relationships that cannot and should not cross the threshold into the version of you being born right now. Those are truly difficult questions to confront. Now you must understand the nature of this current season. This phase of isolation, stripping away, and feeling suspended between who you were and who you are becoming is not permanent. It is not your final destination, but your transition. You are currently in the cocoon phase, and cocoons are meant to feel dark, confined, silent, and confusing. That is the entire point. Inside the cocoon, a caterpillar must completely dissolve before reforming into something entirely new. If the caterpillar could experience that transformation consciously, it would feel like death. It would feel like everything it ever knew was being stripped away, as though it were losing itself entirely. And in a sense, it would be right. The caterpillar does die, and something entirely new takes its place. Right now, you are experiencing that exact dissolution phase. The version of you built on fixing everyone else, seeking validation through utility, and hiding power behind helpfulness, is dissolving. It feels like you are losing yourself because, in truth, you are. Yet what approaches is not a loss, but a birth. And here is the vital truth you need to hear, one that may challenge you more than anything else said so far. You have been afraid of this transformation, perhaps not consciously, but at a deeper level that drives your actual behavior. You have unconsciously resisted it because you know what it truly costs. You know what it demands. You know that stepping into your authentic self means letting go of the person you have been pretending to be. It means losing the excuse of other people's needs to hide behind. It means you can no longer deflect your personal calling by pointing at everyone else's crises. It means you can no longer claim a lack of time, capacity, or busyness with other people's affairs. Consequently, your current season has stripped all of those excuses away. Isolation removed the distractions, distance eliminated the demands, and you are left completely alone with the one question you have avoided your whole life. Who are you when no one else needs you? Who are you when you are not reacting to anyone else's emergencies? Who are you when the room is quiet, your phone is silent, and nobody is looking to you for anything? The answer to that question is precisely what you have been running from, because that answer forces you to face yourself, your own desires, needs, fears, gifts, and callings. It forces you to confront the terrifying reality that you are accountable for what you have been given. It means you can no longer blame your circumstances or obligations. This is why you needed solitude. It is not because you did anything wrong, nor because you are being punished, excluded, rejected, or unloved. You needed to be alone because you cannot become who you are meant to be while surrounded by people who demand that you stay who you were. You cannot receive what is coming while your hands remain full of the past. You cannot hear the voice calling you while your ears are filled with the demands of everyone else. The room had to be cleared. The noise had to be silenced. The distractions had to be removed. This happened not because you deserved to suffer, but because you deserve to receive. And you cannot receive anything while your hands remain full. You cannot be filled while still constantly pouring yourself out. You cannot step into your future while carrying the heavy weight of your past. So, my beautiful souls, here is what I need you to do right now. Wherever you are, stop scanning ahead to your next task. Stop thinking about what you will say to the person who interrupted you earlier. Stop rehearsing tomorrow's conversations. Stop calculating how you will fix whatever is broken in someone else's life. I need you to be completely here, completely present, and entirely available to what is happening right now. And I need you to truly feel what has been happening inside you. Feel the exhaustion you have pushed through, the loneliness you have numbed, the anger you have suppressed, the grief you have ignored, and the hope you were too afraid to admit. All of it. That entire tangled mess of what you have been avoiding has accumulated in the quiet spaces of your heart. It has been trying to tell you the truth you were too afraid to hear. That you cannot keep living this way, that your current lifestyle is unsustainable, and that something must change. It tells you that you are on the verge of something you cannot even name, and the only way through it is to actually walk straight through it. You cannot go around it, over it, or distract yourself from it. You must go through it with your eyes open, your heart exposed, and nothing left to hide behind. This is your moment. This is the moment you were prepared for, even if you did not know you were waiting for it. Every lonely conversation, every silent room, every falling relationship, and every stripped-away distraction has built toward this exact point. You did not stumble into this moment by accident. You were guided here. You were led here not by coincidence, algorithms, the clock, or random events, but because you are ready, even if you do not feel ready, even if you are afraid, and even if you have no clue what comes next. You are ready because you have been prepared. That preparation was the hardest thing you have ever endured. But now it is complete. The stripping away is finished. The silence has served its purpose, and the distance has done its work. What remains is you, stripped of all the protective layers, standing in the truth of who you actually are and always have been, but were once too afraid to become. Hear the profound weight of this one more time. Be who you have always been, not who you pretended to be, tried to become, or what others expected of you. Be the version of yourself that existed before all the expectations, obligations, and performances. Be the version that knew what it wanted, what it was here for, and its own true name before the world told you what you should be called. That version of you never died. It has simply been waiting in the quiet, the silence, and the cleared space. Now that the space is empty and the silence is complete, that version of you is ready to step forward. And when you finally take that step and let that version speak and lead, the entire dynamic of your life will change. The people built for your old version will either adjust or leave. The structures designed for your past self will either expand or break. The old patterns will either transform or dissolve. None of that is your problem to solve. None of that is your responsibility to manage. Your sole responsibility is to be who you actually are. Stop hiding, stop dimming your light, and stop making yourself small so others can feel big. Your responsibility is to step fully into the version of yourself you have avoided and trust that whatever falls away was never meant to stay. So listen to me closely. The season of preparation is complete. Every loss, silence, moment of isolation, confusion, and grief has led you right here. And this moment is not an ending. It is a beginning. This is the moment you step forward. You do not need certainty about where you are going yet. You do not need complete clarity on every single step. What you need is the absolute knowledge that you cannot stay where you were, remain who you were, or carry what you used to carry. You step forward armed only with trust and the conviction that what is being prepared for you is far better than what you leave behind. You step forward with the full willingness to finally become who you were always meant to be, without any reservations or excuses. And when you do, everything else will fall into place. It will happen not because you fixed everything, but because you finally stopped trying to fix things and started living. It will happen not because you solved everything, but because you stopped solving everyone else's problems and started facing your own life. It will happen not because you became who everyone else wanted, but because you finally became who you were always supposed to be. You were left alone, so you could hear this. You were placed in the quiet, so you could receive this. You were stripped of distractions, so you could finally see what has been right in front of you the whole time. Now you see it, and you can never unsee it. So take a deep breath, place your hand on your chest, and feel your heartbeat. Notice how alive you still are, how much life remains inside you, and how much more you were designed to carry. Realize that every moment of isolation, every perceived abandonment, every closed door, and every person who walked away was simply making room for what is coming. And what is coming is so much bigger than what has left. The season of preparation is finished. The silence has accomplished its purpose. The room has been cleared. Now step forward into the life that was always meant to be yours, not because you earned it, and not because you did everything right, but because you have been prepared for it, because you are ready, and because the version of you waiting to emerge is finally here. There is nothing left standing in your way.